Hey guys, welcome to another show. This week I've got an interview with Honneybadger, who's an environmental researcher, economist, humanist, science nerd, techno geek, and blogger. She's on a Skype call all the way from Karachi, Pakistan. This week's intro music is Upbeat by Jean-Luc Hefferman and Behind the Seas by Pessimist. Both are available over at freemusicarchive.org. This interview was done before the horrible attacks on Paris carried out by ISIS. Everyone's thoughts are with Paris. Now, without further ado, let's go to the interview with Honneybadger. So when did you, start your journey into more of an activist role, and also when did you start writing for the Nation as well?
I started writing for the Nation earlier this year. I wrote you must have heard about the Taliban shooting these kids in a school in Peshawar in December last year.
Yes, I did.
A friend of mine who works at the Nation had been asking me to write. So I was very upset that day, and I think I just decided that was the point I was going to start writing. That was actually my first blog after that incident. And I've been talking about these things for 4 years now. Because I wasn't here in Pakistan before, I was working abroad, and so ever since I've come back, I've taken more of an activist role. Basically, I'm an environmental economist and climate change freelance consultant.
What is the general sentiment towards science and climate change, and is there any kind of aversion to climate change that you might find in, for instance, fundamentalist Christian groups in the States?
No, not for climate change in Pakistan, because people are already seeing the effects with floods and other kinds of climate-related disasters, and also because they know that many people have the idea that Pakistan's contribution to it is very, very little. So the US's contribution is large, so people tend to get a bit upset about it. Over here, they understand that yes, there is climate change happening. But that's the extent of what they know. They don't really have a strong sort of disagreement with the fact. Evolution, yeah, there'll be people who will agree with it, but then when you kind of relate it to the religious aspect, then they would rather give up on the evolution aspect and not the religious aspect.
So I guess a lot of what I'm hearing out of Pakistan right now has to do with their blasphemy laws. Didn't they originate from the British laws?
Yes, they absolutely did. The British were the ones who had sort of put in these laws back when they were, ruling the India and Pakistan. And then Pakistan just basically continued with the same laws, but they then subsequently kept adding to them. And now what has happened is that because it's difficult, people here, we have laws, but people just don't follow them and they abuse them. So the blasphemy law in particular is being abused by people against non-Muslim minorities a lot.
So not only just atheists or secularists, but just anybody who doesn't fit the majority religion.
Yeah, actually atheists are okay for now, because I haven't heard of many of them who've come out and actually said that they are atheists, and it's not become as bad as it is in Bangladesh, where even a secular blog is going to get you hacked to death. People here are still more concerned about blasphemy. If what happens here is people get upset if you say something against Muhammad particularly, or if you say that perhaps we need to reconsider and reform Islam, they get upset. So anyone who does that gets they come after you. They go to the police. They say that this person has committed blasphemy, and then you're in jail.
So basically what you're saying is if you happen to be maybe a progressive or a liberal or a Muslim or some sort of maybe even like an academic or a scholarly Muslim, you better watch what you say.
Yeah, you have to watch what you say, but it also depends. Right now, for now, it depends also on how where you are, which kind of sort of class you belong to, because most of these are actually against very poor people. The people who are in jail, who've been accused of blasphemy, are generally the impoverished. They're not people who have access to legal recourse. So these are the people, and I don't know if these stats are correct, but my estimation is that 80 to 90% are just people trying to sort of being vengeful against somebody they don't like.
So it's like a witch hunt, basically.
Yeah, it's like a witch hunt. I mean, I'm okay. I write in the Nation and I say things. All I get till now, what I've got are sort of is harassment on the comment section, or people will come after me on my Twitter and just say things, and that's what I see happening to other people as well. Because I think primarily because we haven't said anything anti-Muhammad openly. If we do that, then we are in big trouble.
I guess the crazy thing is that that's what I've heard when I read the stories from Bangladesh. Some of these terrorist groups, they'll say, oh, we've got nothing against atheists. We just have problems with people who mock the prophet.
Yeah.
But I guess that can be a very fine line, right? I mean, you got to be very careful about what you're saying. Who knows how it could be interpreted?
Yes, when I'm writing, I have to think about it a lot. I may get away by saying I'm an atheist, and they may come back and say, "Oh, you're a CIA agent or a Mossad agent or a Indian agent or something like that."
An alien influence, huh?
Sorry?
And I've heard the term alien influence.
Yes, but they may not go beyond that. But if I actually did say something against Muhammad, they would come up. They'd be outside my door. I'm sure of that.
That must be, I mean, excruciatingly difficult to deal with. I mean, so I guess what brought you back to Pakistan is just maybe, I guess, a love for Pakistan. I mean, you were born there?
Yes, I was born here, and I actually lived most of my life here. I went out and, I went to the U.S. to do my second degree, and then I worked abroad for a few years. But yeah, mostly I've lived here. And yes, I did come back. Actually, it was patriotism also is kind of akin to being overly religious to me. So, but it was where my family was. So I came back thinking that, I wanted to come back to my family, my mother. And then I also thought that maybe I could make a difference if I could be here and, actually talk from the context that's around me. That was one of the reasons. However, I do feel now that, I think that it's not working. I think it's going to be a very long time before we can get to a point where we are able to say, where we'll be able to have freedom of speech, really. It's going to take a long, long time.
I guess it might have something to do maybe with education. I mean, I don't know what the censorship situation is in Pakistan, if they censor. I know in India, I read that there was a lot of censoring of movies and plays and things. I don't know what it's like in Pakistan right now.
It's exactly the same. The government has the authority to censor movies, plays, what you put in your curriculum, what private and public schools can teach. All kinds of things can be censored. It's exactly the same, if not a little bit worse. So censorship is a big issue here. For me, although a majority of the people are not educated, it's not just that the uneducated that are a problem. It's also because the curriculum has been taken on a particular path for the last 30 years. even the educated people seem to be, I mean, sometimes I talk to them and I don't know what to say because, they'll be a doctor or an engineer and they'll just tell me that evolution has failed. It's like a failed theory, and I just don't know what to say to them in response.
Well, I guess if Ben Carson in the United States can believe in creationism, then we shouldn't be too hard on these people either.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly the same kind of situation. So it really doesn't matter if people are educated or not. It's just that in the last 30 years, there's been radicalization across all levels. And also, it's very hard to even talk to the so-called moderate Muslims because, they have this line that you cannot cross. Otherwise, they jump down your throat. They also get very aggressive and they tell you that you're wrong. They may not know anything about the Quran or they may not even have read it properly. But if you talk to them, they get all agitated and aggressive. So it's kind of a very fascinating situation going on here. You have to juggle with your words a lot.
Do you guys have meetups or do you guys have many atheist or secular, at least, groups in Karachi?
We have some small groups. People are always scared of meeting up because they don't know if it's an actual group or if it's just a sort of a trick to get you to come out. So they don't. But there are a few groups around. Like I have a few friends that I can talk to and meet up with. Mostly it's on social media. There are more, I think, in Lahore than there are in Karachi, to tell you the truth. Karachi has a lot of other complications. So, I think Lahore is a place where there are more groups where one can meet up.
Is Pakistan officially a secular country or is it officially a Muslim country?
It's officially a Muslim country. It's the Islamic Republic of Pakistan.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
All right. So then in that case, there's no expectation whatsoever of any kind of separation of church and state.
People still do have expectation and they are calling for it a lot, people like me. But it is in the Constitution, and so it's going to be a long, long struggle.
Yeah, if it's in the Constitution, I would imagine so. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess the only thing you could really strive for is a sort of secularism where you have you recognize Islam's I guess dominance or primacy, but at the same time you have some sort of benevolence or something for other religions and even non-religion written in somewhere in the Constitution.
Yes. That's what we are, and it is written in the Constitution. The Constitution does say that other religious, people of other religions are free to go and practice their religion the way they want. But in the last, like I said, 30 years or so, things have become such that even that is now it's considered wrong or bad. So that's what we are struggling for. That at least let them do what they want to do in the way they want to do it. And don't even get to the atheism part yet. A person like me, I mean, in Islam, I'm an apostate, and the punishment for apostasy is death. So I don't know how long it will be till we get there, where I'll be able to say openly that no, I'm an ex-Muslim. I can't say it right now.
So yeah, basically what we were saying earlier is, although things aren't maybe as bad as in Bangladesh, mm-hmm. You're quite legitimate when you say that. If you were to come out as publicly as an atheist, mm-hmm. Would that put your life in peril? Would you have to leave the country?
Yeah, it probably will. Yes, I'm a bit lucky because my family and my friends and the group of people I have around me, even though some of them might be still practicing or non-practicing Muslims, they have no issue with that. But yes, if I went and announced, I don't think anybody can go out and announce openly that, I'm an atheist, I'm an ex-Muslim especially.
So the degree of tolerance is sort of, maybe similar to what it was towards homosexuals in the past, where it's like, okay, we won't come after you as long as you just keep it in your own closet.
Yes. For the moment, it is like that. Just be quiet, don't say anything, and please do not come after our prophet or our religion, because we are a religion of peace and we'll kill you if you do.
Yes, I mean I guess it's good that they're at least making it very clear.
Yes, they've made it very, very clear.
So,
Actually, the problem is that for right now, Pakistan has to deal with this thing of the Taliban, the terrorism that they are, doing in this country. So that's the first thing that we have to, and it's our own fault. We've allowed these people in the country. So the first thing is to get them out of here, or just have their influence sort of dissipated as much as possible, and then we move on to the next steps.
and that, I guess what that requires is it requires setting some sort of clear boundary as to what is acceptable and what is not in the name of religion, right? I mean,
Exactly.
you got to have your laws, and then you say, okay, well, you can practice your religion, but you shouldn't be running around killing people.
Exactly. And that's what they say. That's what the government says. But it's, as till now, to me, it seems like it's lip service, because many of these groups were actually sort of promoted by the army itself. So, they are sort of under their what leadership or whatever. And so it's going to take a while before that happens as well.
Yeah, this reminds me again, I guess, of Bangladesh, where it seems like you have activists coming out saying, well, we don't seem to be having the government doing anything really tangible. And then you have the president, I can't remember her name,
Yeah,
saying,
Hasina.
yeah, she's saying, okay, well, this is great, but we're not allowed to do this. But at the same time, don't be disturbing religious sentiment, right, in your posts. And I think the
Yeah.
chief of police said, well, he, more or less he said they kind of got what they deserved. They were tempting fate. And I mean, from an outside observer like me, and I don't know really what's going on over there, but from an outside observer, it does really look like the government is sort of, if they're not timid to do anything, then maybe they're also, who knows what kind of under the table sort of agreements might exist.
Exactly, it's the same here. And also, you have to understand that a lot of in both Bangladesh and Pakistan, there are religious political parties, and the government cannot afford, it doesn't want to sort of upset them, because that's also part of their vote. So these parties are not huge, but they don't want to upset them, and also they don't want to upset the majority of the people who always go out and say that they shouldn't have said things like that about the religion. It's like the rape apologists. Well, why she shouldn't have gone out dressed like that kind of situation.
Yeah, actually, what's the situation when it comes to women in Pakistan? I mean, I take it women need to wear the veil there. Is that correct?
No, they don't.
Wow.
That's
Okay.
it's not compulsory. It's never been.
Oh, that's good.
Women do wear the veil. A lot of them wear it because their families expect them to. Some of them wear it because they just want to. So, but no, I dress like I do when I'm in the West. I mean, I wouldn't go out in a bikini or anything like that, but I don't have to sort of be totally. Nobody's going to come after me if I'm wearing jeans and a shirt or something like that.
Yeah, actually, I live in a very Muslim slash some Hindus, but mostly Muslim part of Montreal. And there's actually down the street, they call it like Little Pakistan, and we have all kinds of markets and things. And around here, yeah, many Muslim women and girls wear hijabs. It's kind of funny, though, when I see some of the teenage girls wearing hijabs in my neighborhood, because they'll be wearing these hijabs, but then if it's summer, they're not wearing a whole lot else. It's kind of amusing.
Yes, that's the thing. It happens here as well, and that's another discussion that's come out that, okay, one wants to let them wear whatever they want, but I'm always curious as to the thinking that goes behind it. Okay, so you think that covering your hair is more important than, say, covering your butt? You know, so it's kind of, yeah, it's funny. It's quite interesting too. But you have to keep in mind that many of these teenage girls, they might be forced by their family to do that. So they're just sort of trying to make the best of a situation that they might be unhappy with.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And it's hard to say how many might take it off when they
Yeah,
leave the neighborhood or to go to
yeah,
school, what have you, right?
yeah. And also, they might be told that if they don't cover up or don't wear the hijab, they won't be allowed to go to school, get an education, see their friends. So, it's just something that they do. Many of them probably do that.
It sounds like what you're saying is that the situation for women in Pakistan, at least, I mean, obviously it sounds better than maybe a place like, Saudi Arabia or Iran or
Yes,
one of those places.
yes. We don't like the hijab or whatever. It's not compulsory. We drive. We work. We vote. We are loud. So yeah, in many ways it is fine, but there are still many issues. It's still a very patriarchal society. So if a woman is going out to work or do whatever, there is always this thing of being allowed to do. They're allowed to do it.
How about traveling? As a woman, if you're a certain age, you're allowed to go and get your passport and leave the country, right?
Yes.
Without any
Yeah.
outside help.
No. No, you
Okay.
can't. 18 years, you get your passport and you get your driver's license, you get your identity card, you can travel, the rest depends really on your family. The government doesn't see anything about that.
It's kind of funny because I'm listening to all these things and it kind of reminds me of how a country like Canada or the UK would have been maybe 60 years ago, 70 years
It,
ago, because
yeah,
atheism was illegal for a while.
yeah, that's what I, actually think, that it is exactly like UK or Canada or the US would have been 60 years ago. I feel like we are living in that age.
So I guess the best thing you can do is maybe hope that there's some sort of bright spot in the future. Is internet censored very heavily in Pakistan? Can you reach all the regular sites there?
Well, it is censored. For example, YouTube has been blocked for, I don't know, 5 years
Wow.
because of that one movie that was
Oh, the really
shown.
bad movie that caused
Yeah.
the protests in what bank was it Benghazi?
No, not Benghazi. It was the protests were everywhere.
Hmm.
This movie was about Muhammad again, and since then YouTube has been banned, but everybody accesses it through VPNs and
Proxy.
other things.
Yeah, actually, that movie actually was that the terrible movie that was made entirely on green screen?
Yes, I think it was. I didn't see it,
I
but
saw it. It was awful.
everybody said it was an awful movie, and there was just no need to go up in arms about it. But everybody did, and they blocked YouTube. But I access it because, I have a VPN installed. You need YouTube for education purposes, for a lot of other things, and so people do that. There are sites that are blocked, but people just install VPNs and access them.
Okay, great. So, another site would be Facebook or Twitter.
Yeah, they are not blocked. They are easily accessible.
Oh, that's good,
Yeah.
because maybe I have this rosy picture of the future, but I guess based on what I saw from the Arab Spring, it seems like social media could at least be, I guess, exposing people and in particular young people to
Yes.
different ideas.
That's my hope as well, and I think I think we are probably right in that because you have access to information that you did not have before. So I feel like this will probably get us there. And just to sort of take you back a little bit, till about 1977 though, Pakistan was completely different. It was extremely liberal and progressive. We had alcohol was allowed. There were nightclubs and gambling places and stuff like that. It just up since 1977 onwards that we've had these issues. I'm hoping that we'll get there again through social media activism.
Yeah, pardon me for my lack of knowledge of the history, but I mean, was there some sort of parallel to the Iranian Revolution there or something? What occurred that caused this turn?
That was a small part of it. There were religious, political parties in Pakistan that wanted more say, and one of the prime ministers decided to give them what they wanted. And also, they were also sort of scared that because Iran is a primarily Shia country, and Pakistan and Saudi Arabia are Sunni countries, so there's that thing. It's like the Catholic Protestant sort of fight that goes on. So they were afraid that there'll be a lot more Shia influence here but primarily it was that the prime minister at that time wanted, he was having trouble because of his policies and what he'd done. So, and he wanted more votes, so he just decided to agree with all the religious parties at that time, which were really small, and if they hadn't been given any if they hadn't been promoted at that time or listened to at that time, we wouldn't have been in this place. And then it got aggravated with the Soviet intrusion in Afghanistan, because Saudi Arabia started pumping, religious dogma into the country. That kind of escalated from there.
Yeah, that's it. And actually, 1977, I forgot that I believe the Iranian Revolution happened 2 years later.
2 years later,
79.
Yeah, so this was more of a that guy, the prime minister was not popular at that time, and he just wanted more support, and he did that. And then subsequently, when Saudi Arabia realized that when the Iranian Revolution happened, Saudi Arabia, that is also an aspect. It's also a part of it that they want more of their influence rather than the Shia influence. So it's kind of both. Mm-hmm.
I find myself sometimes falling into this trap where I'm unable to see beyond the word Islam. So the West portrays Islam often as being a sort of a monolithic thing, mm-hmm. which is really ignorant if you think about it, because nobody in the West thinks that Christianity is just Christianity. I mean,
right.
There are many different flavors of Christianity, and many have not gotten along well. If anything has made Christians get along well with each other in the West is secularism, which has kind of forced them together, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, for centuries, Protestants and Catholics were fighting with each other in Europe, for instance. So it should come as no surprise that you have, Sunnis and Shiites fighting with each other.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Islam is not a monolith, and even within the Sunnis and the Shiites, there are groups and there are people who who don't follow every word of the Quran or every word of the prophets or whoever they believe in. So it's different. It's very diverse. There are the teachings there, just like their teachings of the Old Testament, which tell you to stone gays and all that, but a lot of the people don't follow it like that, They don't believe that you should be stoning gays. But if you take them literally, they go ahead and do that. So it's not a monolith. There are a lot of different aspects to it. However, that does not mean, you see, but like you just said, that the Christians, they started living with each other relatively peacefully is after secularism, and also after the Reformation, they reformed. Right? And this is what Islam needs. It does need to have people acknowledge the fact that there are some things, that there are some aspects of it, actually a lot of aspects of it, that do not go with the 21st century, and we need to sort of just disregard them now, and that human rights sort of trump anything that the book says.
I think that pretty much wraps it up, Honneybadger. Is there any way that our listeners could possibly read about your work or visit maybe you on social media?
Yes. So my Twitter handle is @Honneybadger. The honey is HONNEYBADGER. They can visit me there, and they can access my blog from there as well. It's it's right, it's in my profile.
Okay, thank you, Honneybadger, for being on the show.
Thank you very much for having me. I really enjoyed that.